It's Hollie's Hotspurs back with another one. Chatting all things Tottenham, we're second to none. Special guests every time, if it's win, lose or draw. The passion is high like Harry Kane when he scores. Or when Lloris makes a world-class save. We got Hollie running the mid every game. Settle down, stick around, share your thoughts with the panel. And make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Coys.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gents, to a Hollie's Hotspurs Live. And I'm telling you, it's been a little while. I've been gallivanting on holiday, but we're back with a live show. And with me tonight to obviously discuss that 2-0 win against Everton, I am joined by some lovely people. So first off, I come to you, Wes. Wes, I'm really sorry. You're like my super sub at the minute. I will get you on properly and fill you in. But how are you tonight, my friend?
Yeah, all good. Thank you, Hollie. These last minute call ups are getting a bit regular now. Second one in however many weeks is it? Something like that. But no, all good. And great to be talking all things Spurs on the show once again.
Lovely jubbly, and a win, of course, which is always good. And also joining us is Dara, aka Spurs View. So Dara, how are you this evening, my friend?
Yeah, fantastic, Hollie. Thanks a million for having me on. And Wes, I have to thank you for filling in for me last minute there a couple of weeks ago. You saved my skin here. I probably wouldn't be here only for you, to be honest. I would have got the sack. So yeah, thank you for that, man. You saved my skin. But yeah, delighted to be here, Hollie. Thanks a million.
All good. I'll tell you, where's his super sub, man? I need to get him in officially. I know, right? But no, we will also have Patrick join us at some point, but he is currently trying to back our sides on the Tottenham Terrace, representing for Tottenham. So he will be with us shortly. I have no doubt about that. But also want to say hello to everybody else in the chat. Welcome, everyone. Hope you are all good too. But let's crack on with it. So Wes, I'm going to come to you first because obviously we played Frankfurt in the week. We did win. We saw that Conte decided to go for 3 in the middle, but to start with, in the Everton game, we did go to 2 in the middle. So were you kind of surprised by that kind of take, or you thought it was just going to be natural order resumed?
I think it was pretty much a case of, normality, as you said, normal order being resumed. I have to say, though, against Frankfurt, I thought we played all right first half. It was just a little bit frustrating in that sort of opening 15, 20 minutes, obviously conceding whilst trying to play out. It's going to happen at times. But then I think after that, I thought we were really, really good. But just in typical Tottenham fashion, trying to hold on at the end against 10 men, which was a bit baffling. But no, I thought in the week we were really, really good. And look, I knew that Conte was having to rotate, and it felt like when you look at the games and priority wise, I think the Frankfurt one at home was the one that he was going to rotate a few players in, and it did seem that way. But yeah, obviously coming into the game at the weekend, I thought it was pretty much as sort of full strength as we could go at the minute. And obviously it paid off massively.
Definitely, 100%. And also, we also got to see Doherty right back, Spurs Views Dara. I mean, it was nice not to see Emerson because I'm a bit fed up with seeing him. But obviously, we have to see him midweek at the moment. But how impressed were you with his performance?
Yeah, I thought Doherty was absolutely fantastic, I have to say. I just think he's a lot more composed on the ball. I definitely trust him more defensively. I know people say Emerson is a decent defender, but I still trust Doherty more defensively. I think his decision-making is better than Emerson. He's more forward-thinking as well. I think he's a better eye for a pass as well. So, I don't know. You saw Conte's reaction at the end of the game as well. I think he appreciated what he saw. And his comments really, lent a hand to him probably continuing in that role, which would be great. So that red card to Emerson is probably a blessing in disguise, to be honest. It's kind of like, I suppose, you gotta take the good with the bad. Obviously going down to 10 men against Arsenal kind of put the final nail in the coffin in that game. But going forward, I think Doherty's showing his stuff, and hopefully he can cement his place in the team going forward.
Hopefully. I mean, I think we'd all like that. Like you said, I think we've all got a bit of a headache with Emerson at the moment. And so only seeing midweek is quite, like say, a blessing in disguise. But obviously, let's start with kickoff. Wes, I was quite surprised actually how fast we started. Normally, it takes us a little while to get into things. We normally concede to actually wake up. So how impressed were you to see that we're actually starting on the front foot for once?
Yeah, no, it was really, really good to see how positive we were pretty much from the off. I think it's one of those where we know this team is capable of really going for it. We just don't tend to show it. And, like you said, Hollie, sometimes you have to go a goal down, or if it's still 0-0 and it gets to 70 odd minutes and it's right, then we wake up a little bit when we sort of realise the game is there for the taking. But I think, on Saturday, it was just so refreshing. We were just going at Everton realising their weaknesses and really trying to, exploit them for what they were. So yeah, I think that was the biggest positive, I would say, was more, how we played. And I think by and large, I think Everton probably had 2 chances in the first half, but then other than that, I don't think they really did anything else. So it was a real sort of dominant performance from the boys out on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like you've kind of alluded to as well. It's just nice to sit back and actually see us have some chances early on. I mean, Dara, do you think that's because obviously now Sonny's looking more confident than ever? He seems to be having shots outside the box, taking it whenever he feels like it. Do you think that has something to do with the way we started in that kind of sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think when the forwards are on song, you see the difference in the entirety of our play, to be honest. But I have to say, I give a lot of the credit to the midfielders. I think Bentancur and Højbjerg have really upped their game this season. I think, especially with their creative side of the game, I think they're really pressing forward. Bentancur's getting a few assists for himself. Højbjerg's on 3 goals, which is nuts already after 9 games or something. That's ridiculous. I don't even know if he's 3 goals in the last 2 or 3 seasons. So I think I actually lend a lot of the attacking game to those two. I think they're doing horses work out there, to be honest, especially when they're up against 3 in midfield, which we look kind of overrun at times. But I really think they're doing stellar work out there, the 2 of them. But yeah, Sonny does look like he's slowly getting back to his best. I know he's starting to get a few goals in games now. But yeah, we need to keep that rolling. And I do think with Doherty on the right side as well, I think players seem to be more willing to drive that ball out to the right or the left, when our tendency normally when Emerson is playing is just to play it down the left wing back side, which is fair enough. I mean, Sessegnon and Perisic have a much better delivery than Emerson, whereas I think maybe with Doherty there's kind of more of an option and the players out there seem to trust them more maybe. So yeah, I think there's probably a few reasons why, but yeah, we were amazing on Saturday night.
Yeah, we really were. It was, like I say, it was just nice to see it all clicking for once. But kind of sticking with your point, Dara, about Bentancur, I want to come to you, Wes, because obviously there was chances in the game, like you've already alluded to, that he nearly managed to. Well, sorry, I've lost my train of thought. That Bentancur, he did manage to track back at one point, and I think was it Damari Gray that had that effort that he skied it over the bar. So in that kind of, you see his work rate isn't just obviously going forward. We're actually seeing him coming back as well, because I don't really know what happened to the formation there. Just kind of went a bit to pot, and Bentancur was the one who was running back.
Yeah, I think it was transition after a corner. But listen, I absolutely love Rodrigo Bentancur. I think I've said it a few times. He is the Uruguayan Moussa Dembele. And that is the biggest compliment that I can pay anyone, to be fair. But no, I think just his aura around the team and the squad, and he imposes that onto the pitch. And he's so calming. It's almost like when he plays well, Tottenham play well. And he is that one in the midfield that really gets us playing. He sets the tempo so well. And yeah, I just absolutely love him. I think he's been an absolutely brilliant signing, an absolute snip. And it's one of those where you look at it and go, if a bigger club was to go in for him, we're getting easy, 40, 50 mil for him, like not a problem at all. And listening to him in the week, saying that he's really enjoying his time at Tottenham as well is a massive plus as well, because obviously he was dubbed as a Juventus flop. I mean, if they've got any more, please send them our. Yeah, literally, because obviously Kulusevski's been a revelation as well since he came. But no, I've just been so impressed with Bentancur. Can do both sides of the game so well, and it's almost a bit of a throwback to a midfielder that's able to do both sides of the game, because nowadays you either tend to get midfielders that do one or the other. But the fact he can do both sides of the game really, really well is a massive positive for us, definitely.
Yeah, he's definitely a gem. Like you say, he can do both roles really, really well, which is why sometimes I think the Højbjerg-Bentancur role hasn't really worked in that kind of sense, Dara. Like, they're kind of too similar. Obviously, we see Højbjerg for Denmark's pushing up. But it seems, I don't know whether, I think it was Conte who said that, Højbjerg said in the press conference that he's allowed to have a bit more free reign and where he goes, which I think kind of helps, because you find sometimes that Højbjerg and Bentancur, they sit in the same pockets, if that makes sense, and they overcrowd each other.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. And I think you're seeing it, especially when Basuma comes on. Like that second half, you saw Højbjerg and Bentancur really pushing forward more. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. Because I think they need to learn when one person goes, the other sits or whatever, and not to be caught. 'Cause I think in the first half, I think we were caught out a couple of times. It was an Onana who was running straight through, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be goal. When if we skied it would have been 1-0 Everton, and they didn't deserve it whatsoever. So it would be a shame after all that good play to go 1-0 down. And if we're 1-0 down at half time, we could be talking about a different game. But like I said, like I think the two of them really are like progressing as a duo as well. I think they really are understanding their game more. And I think when Basuma came on, he really set them up to do their thing. And I think as a fan base, we probably underrated Højbjerg for a long time. Probably because of his outlay going forward, and he was just sitting back and he was kind of the destroyer or whatever. But I think, yeah, he's really formed a formidable relationship with Bentancur, and the two of them are amazing, I have to say. Yeah, it's nice to see Højbjerg chipping in with a few goals. I didn't even really think he had that in his locker, but he's got a good old right ping on him, to be fair. So yeah, long may that continue.
Definitely. And I think sticking, obviously, because now we're touching on it, I want to kind of stick with the idea of Basuma coming on. We'll get onto the reason why he came on a bit later on in the show. But like you said, Basuma, his first cameo was, I can't remember who it was against now, but I didn't think he was really what we expected him to be. But after that game against Everton, I think we can all say, actually, we need to give this man a bit of time. He's taken the chance, taken the opportunity, and he's really proved himself that he's in this Tottenham squad and he's meant to be there.
Yeah, I think the transition with Basuma coming from Brighton and stepping up to play for Spurs has taken just a little bit longer than I think everybody was hoping for. But Saturday, my goodness, changed the game. Really, really changed the game. And I genuinely don't think he played off more than 3 touches. Two, most of the time. He just get it and got it. Played it simple, kept us ticking over at the right times. And I just turned to my dad after the game and just said, like, how good was Basuma, by the way? And he was just like, yeah, he was quality. So yeah, no, brilliant player. Obviously we know what he is capable of. He's shown that for a good few years at Brighton. But yeah, I think that was his moment where I think now fans have gone, yeah, Basuma's arrived. Because I think especially against West Ham in the game that he sort of started, his first start, he was really, really poor. I think him and Højbjerg just didn't work for me. They sat too deep, wanted to occupy each other's spaces too often, and they didn't really have that relationship. But no, like I say, Saturday came on, changed the game, changed the tempo, just kept it really simple for us. And I think that was what we needed at that time, just because Everton were trying to grow into the game, and it was just somebody there with that little bit of, it's almost played like a veteran and just gone, no, we're going to play the game at our pace and our speed, and yeah, just kept us ticking over nicely.
It's just nice to have that option, Dar, isn't it? Like to think, okay, it's not quite working in the midfield. I know lots of Spurs fans screamed out for a creative midfielder, this, that, and the other. But if seeing Basuma come on and do what he did, potentially changing the game when he's not necessarily that creative outlet you're looking for, it shows that you don't necessarily need one.
No, exactly. And then I was kind of saying that in the summertime when a lot of fans were screaming for Eriksen. I said, like, does Eriksen really fit? Like, is he? I know he's playing okay for United, but is he really fitting in that kind of central midfield role? I'm not so sure. So I think having Basuma in there and allowing Højbjerg and Bentancur, I think people were underrating the creative side, especially of Bentancur's style. That he's well able to pick those passes, and Højbjerg especially, like his long balls generally are very, very good. So I mean that is creativity. I mean, I know maybe we don't have a fella who can pick the eye of the needle pass. I know what people are saying, but I would argue that we make our creativity out wide more often than not. So I think like the midfield balance that we have now is pretty much perfect, and I just hope they all stay fit. Even having Hollie skip there as well as an option is massive. I mean, he's a quality player to have in the ranks, and he's so young still and still learning his craft. And I think the likes of Højbjerg, who's a bit more refined in the role, having him as like a mentor is going to be massive for Skip. So yeah, like the options we have in midfield, I think are the best we've had at the club, maybe since Pochettino was here, even before that even. But yeah, I'm really liking the look of our midfield lately. And to be honest, a few weeks ago, especially when we were playing Arsenal and the Chelsea game as well, I was actually quite worried because they were really rolling us over. I know we got away with it against Chelsea, but Arsenal really rolled over us, and I didn't like the look of it at all. I said we were just sitting back, and I know that was part of our style that day, and Everton trying to catch him on the break just didn't work. But I thought having Basuma in there, having that option, and I like that Conte is kind of kind of growing to the idea of the 3-5-2. I know he didn't really he didn't give much away in the press conference saying, "Oh no, I'm going to use Perisic or whatever." But I don't know. I think I know we're going to get onto it later, but I do think Basuma might start tomorrow evening, or not tomorrow. Sorry, Wednesday evening.
I think so. I think the fact that now we've seen it in motion, I think Conte's actually gone, actually, you know what? I like my, what's the word? He likes to be stubborn, but I think he's seeing it actually works a lot better in the way we played towards the end of, obviously, that game against Everton. But Wes, I'll come back to you because obviously we're talking about Bentancur, but I want to touch on Højbjerg again because of his stats. It's a bit crazy. I know Darrag's mentioned a little bit about his 3 goals and things, but it just seems, he never thought he had it in his locker. And I know his goal obviously took a massive deflection, but he had to be in the right place at the right time. And the fact the ball came in from across from Bentancur on the wide really shows that, like Darren said, with the creativity, don't need Emerson to cross the ball in. He's got Bentancur at the moment.
Well, it's just as well, really, because Emerson couldn't deliver a pizza. To be fair, honestly, Emerson was absolutely shocking, especially on Wednesday. He was awful. But no, I think with Højbjerg, we're seeing that different side to his game. I think he's always sort of been renowned as that, destroyer in the midfield, the one to break up play and give it. But I think even Mourinho turned around and said that actually he's got a lot more technical ability than people give him credit for. But I think the biggest thing with Højbjerg is his consistency. Like he would have, especially under Mourinho when he came in, and even last season, he would have games or like one game where he'd play really well, but then the next couple, he wouldn't be up to that same level. And I think this year now, he's starting to get that consistency. And I think at this rate, he's definitely in for being like our player of the season if he continues and carries on, the momentum that he's got already. And I think it's always nice to see, players from different parts of the team chipping in with goals, because it means then we don't have to rely on Kane and Son in particular. I think that's nice to see that like the midfielders are chipping in with the goals, and that comment there, he can afford to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say creative because I think that's probably the wrong word, but he can be a bit more adventurous, knowing that he's got, say, a Basuma or Skip or a Bentancur potentially behind him if we did go 3-5-2.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like you said, it's the consistency, because now, Darren, it's like 5 assists and five total of 5 assists and 5 goals or something like that at home. And I think that's a real emphasis as well. We are so solid at home.
Yeah, that's absolutely massive. We have to make the lane a fortress this season. Our away form has been a little bit concerning, but at home we have been absolutely scintillating at times, absolutely superb. And I'm confident going into every single game at home, to be honest, at the moment, no matter who we're playing. So I think if we can start carrying that form into our away games as well, and just being a bit braver maybe away from home and showing that we can do this anywhere, we'd be laughing. But yeah, our home form has been outstanding. I think is it 10 games now we're unbeaten at home or something like that. It's a lot anyway. Something like that. Like that is serious form, in fairness. So yeah, I think we just need to be braver when we're away from home. If we can bring some of that, what would you say? I suppose. Yeah, I think bravery is the word I'm looking for, really. Just to trust ourselves that we can do this. That we'd be right up there this season. But yeah, I've been really impressed, really impressed with our home form. Super.
Yeah, we need to keep it up, definitely. And I think we will. I think there's a real atmosphere now at the home ground. I know there's lots of Spurs fans say, we need to big up the atmosphere a bit. But I think as the season's progressing, it's getting better and better. But I want to revert, obviously, back to the Everton game, because I was excited to see Richarlison start Wes against his former club. But sadly, it didn't last too long for him, did it?
No, but he's always on our mind, as the song goes. A little bit concerning when he went down, but I think the news today he's only out for a couple of weeks, so it's not the end of the world. I think the only downside is obviously Kulusevski's not 100% yet. So, but hey, Lucas Moura's back, and it's like that feels like a new signing because we've not seen that much of him recently. I know he had a bit in pre-season, but then he picked up an injury, and I think, Lucas coming in might actually suit us, because if he does come in, he's, we know he can carry the ball. He commits defenders. He's absolutely rapid as well. At worst, he's going to, if he takes us up the pitch 10, 15 yards and wins us a free kick, I don't think anybody's going to really really complain. I just think perhaps sometimes with Lucas, it's that end product, that final ball or that final pass that sometimes lets him down. But listen, if we get the Lucas Moura that emptied Old Trafford in, a couple of seasons ago, I don't think anybody's gonna really complain. But it's nice for us to have these sorts of options because we've been starved of them in recent years. So yeah, it's looking like the squad is competitive, and I think Richarlison has made a good impact without really doing too much. I think he's run about a bit, and as a fan, we've all gone, yeah, brilliant. We like this, and I think he's just given like the whole place a bit of a lift, just because he is willing to work hard for the team, put that shift in, and I think as fans, you can't really ask for any more than that as a minimum. And then his quality will eventually shine through, and I think he's definitely going to add to our front line 100%.
Oh, definitely. I think that's the thing as well. Like we said, obviously, I think he's out for, I think it's 2 weeks. Conte said, or 14 days. I know that Conte said something in the press conference, and then he came out and tweeted something, Richarlison. So hopefully, like I say, it's nothing too major. He'll be back. But Dara, I don't know whether we'll see him necessarily before the World Cup, because obviously I think Conte was alluding to the fact he doesn't want to risk him missing out on that, which I still think the World Cup being in winter is stupid anyway. But with that, Dara, do you think Kulu's probably going to be near enough fit to maybe come in?
Yeah, and listen, to be honest, I don't know if Conte really had Richarlison in his mind as being a right winger when he was signed. I think you saw him more as a Son or a Kane backup, either as a left winger or a striker. I think if you look at his stats from his time at Everton, I think he played like less than 10% of his games on the right hand side, and you can kind of see why. I think he is, like, again, as Wes said, like he's definitely showing signs of a top player, and we know he's got that kind of what would you say, kind of nearly annoying streak in him where he can literally annoy defenders just with his own presence is you can see that defenders are aggravated by even his presence around them. They're going up to referees every so often and complaining and whatever. But yeah, I don't know if we're seeing the real Richarlison at the moment. I know he got his goals in the Champions League, but in the league I feel like he's a little bit, I don't know. I think he looks like a man out of position, and to be fair, he is. So I think Kulusevski, when he's back fit, not sure if he'll be fit for United, doesn't look like he will. But I think he'll really nail down that right wing spot. I think Kulu is much more comfortable chopping back and crossing that ball in. He's a bit more dynamic on the right in the fact that he can go on his right or go on his left, whereas Richarlison is a bit, direct, a bit more direct than Kulusevski in that fashion, that he just, runs in a straight line as opposed to really coming in. So yeah, I think Kulu will definitely be our man, the right wing, and I think Richarlison will probably be a backup if anything, but unlikely we'll see him before the World Cup. If what's the time frame? Yeah, 2-3 weeks. Probably not. Probably making a few sub cameos, I'd imagine. But I'm glad to hear that it's only going to be a couple of weeks, because like the fact that he was crying and everything after the game and he left on crutches, I think it didn't look kind of ominous. And it'd be such a shame for him as well, after kind of cementing his place as Brazil's number 9, or seemingly so anyway. Unless Arsenal fans probably disagree with that, but whatever. So yeah, I think there's more to come from Richarlison, and we'll really see the proper Richarlison in the new year, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I think get the World Cup out of the way, and then we'll be firing all cylinders again. I think, like you said, it's just nice to see after him leaving on crutches and sobbing, basically. It's nice to know today that it's nothing really too serious. But obviously, going back to the game, we kind of have to talk about the penalty, Wes, because after seeing Kane absolutely sky it over the bar against Frankfurt, I was a bit worried to see how this one would go, but I shouldn't have been worried, should I?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that one from midweek has landed in anyone's back gardens, but if it has, please return it to Tottenham Hotspur as soon as possible. And obviously that's, I don't think Kane misses many penalties, put it that way. But yeah, awful, absolutely horrendous goalkeeping from Pickford, by the way, because Doherty's shot had absolutely no pace behind it, and that is bread and butter for any goalkeeper. But listen, credit to Kane, he's sniffed out a bit of a half chance, earned a penalty, and yeah, listen, he's one of very few that usually from 12 yards, I know he missed one in the week, but usually from 12 yards he's pretty good. So yeah, I think it's just one of those whereby the one in midweek you can sort of disregard it, because he scored one already in that game earlier on, and I believe, and yeah, he obviously slotted that one away and put us in the position, I think, that I'll play, especially on Saturday, really, really deserved. I think we probably should have got a goal in the first half anyway. Could have been like 1 or 2 up, given how well we played. But Everton frustrated us, but yeah, it was nice to see Kane actually hit the back of the net as opposed to the back of the stands on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I was taking bets on, right, is it going over? Is it going wide? What's going on? I shouldn't ever do that. But after seeing that one on Wednesday, I was a bit like, yeah. But no, he did start it home. But Darragh, there's been a bit of controversy because obviously rival fans, as they always like to do, said it was never a pen. It's Harry Kane diving again, doing his Tom Daly impression. But you can see from the face of Pickford that he knows he's in the wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he took him out. I mean, yeah, maybe he didn't absolutely dive on Kane the way rival fans would want to absolutely drill him into the shins or whatever. But listen, if you're running at pace to try and round a goalkeeper and a goalkeeper puts you off like that and the leg wobbles, I mean, that puts you off, and he's absolutely well within his right to go down. So yeah, no, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind, to be honest, about that penalty. And there's been way more contentious penalties than that this season given. So to be honest, let them think what they want, because there'll be a day that comes when we're slagging them about something that was even slightly borderline. So yeah, I think people would have complained regardless, to be honest. But yeah, listen, if they're annoyed, it means that we're doing something right. So that's what I say anyway. So
I like it. That is the best way to put it. I like that. I'm going to start using that. But obviously, talking about Kane and his stats, he's obviously only 8 Wes away from Jimmy Greaves's thing about all-time goal scorer. So that would be insane if he gets that in the next couple of weeks before the World Cup.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's a case of when and not if. And to break that kind of goal scoring record that has stood for so long is a testament to Harry Kane as a person. And the fact that he is so dedicated pretty much to his craft. Even now he's still out there, doing the extras on the training pitch, just to try and improve and get better every single day. And yeah, I don't think anybody can really say any more on that, to be fair. Yeah, I think I've summed it up a bit too well, if anything.
You got to leave Darragh something, Jesus.
Yeah, sorry, Darragh.
I'm not going to say no.
Well, I could add this. This is obviously his 5th consecutive goal, I think, as well in the league. So not only is he scoring them, he is also scoring them continuously, shall we say. So like Wes has said, in the sense that obviously he's firing them in, but he's doing it every week now.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think without Haaland's ridiculous machine man goal fest he's been having since the start of the season, I think people will be talking a lot more about Kane. And I think what I've seen from Kane this season as well is that he's kind of pressing a little bit further forward than maybe he was in previous seasons. Like, I don't know, has his creative side been at the top of his game this season? But actually, who cares when he's popping in the back of the net? That's what he's there for at the end of the day. And listen, Kane has made no secret about how much he cares about, his goal record and things like that. I think he prides himself a lot on it. You can see every goal, how much it means to him. And I think he absolutely deserves the Spurs record. It's a matter of when, not if. It's going to happen. Touch wood now, just in case there's some ridiculous thing happens. I'm not going to even say, but yeah, like it's going to happen, and it would be amazing for him to get it before the World Cup, even just to not have that. Like, it won't be playing on his mind at the World Cup, but just to have that nearly off his chest a small bit or something, it would be really nice. Yeah, nice way to round up the fixtures just before the World Cup hits.
Definitely. Like I said, it'd be off his mind, which is even better, so we can go and win the World Cup, hopefully. Probably won't happen, but there we go. Moving away from Kane, I also want to talk about someone else that we haven't seen yet, Wes, but we got to see him against Everton, and that was Spence. So what did you make of Spence coming on? To be honest, I was more shocked that he was actually on the pitch, to be fair, that he was alive. So
yeah, I'm a bit like you. I think when he came on, sort of everybody around where I was sitting was going, "Oh, Spence is alive. Here we go." Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Did he even touch the ball?
I don't know.
That sounds really bad, doesn't it? Just double checking if he touched the ball. But yeah, I think it was nice to see that, like you say, he's actually alive. Because I think there has been that sort of thing of like, is he just there on the payroll? Nicking like 50, 60 grand a week or whatever he's on. But yeah, no, it was just nice to see him. I think the thing from midweek was that, or the general sort of mood and feeling was that, from the people I was speaking to, was that it would have been nice to see him midweek, especially before we decided to nearly throw the towel in. It was like 3-1. We were looking relatively comfortable. Why not give him some minutes? But yeah, no, it was just nice to sort of see him And yeah, I think he will look like. Just seen that comment there. That is brilliant. I do think he will come good, and I think Conte is speaking very highly of him, which is good. So if Emerson's dropping clangers left, right, and centre, then it's going to be a toss-up, I think, between Doherty and Spence for that right wing back slot moving forwards.
I think that's the case, isn't it, Dara, as well? It's like we've waited so long for Conte to introduce him, and the rumour of saying it wasn't Conte signing, he's not going to play him, has kind of fallen into reality. But hopefully now, like Wes says, maybe we will see a bit more of Spence.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I don't know. I haven't met any Spurs fan that doesn't want to see him on the pitch more. Especially like I think the roar from the crowd as soon as he came on the weekend. It's just you want to see a new signing first and foremost. And I know it might take a while for him to settle in and things like that. But I mean, I don't know what Emerson is doing in training, but like Conte's surely watching these games and going, I can't continue with this guy Emerson. Surely he can't be that good in training, because from what I've seen from Doherty, even in one game, he's better in that game than Emerson has had maybe ever for Spurs, to be honest. So, and like, it's not as if Doherty was actually particularly amazing. He just did the simple things right, and that's all we want from a right wing back. And Emerson doesn't even do that. So yeah, I think it's only like, I think if Spence, maybe, I think he'll get a chance in the cups 100%. I think that'll happen. And yeah, he deserves it 100%. And yeah, I don't see why he couldn't come on earlier in games that were really kind of killing teams off. I don't see the issue in bringing him on even earlier. When we got that second goal, I think he could have come on straight away, to be honest. I think the game was done. It was one of those kind of foregone conclusions. I know it never is that way really with Spurs, but you could sense from the way we were playing and everything that we were going to see this one out. Although I do think Conte maybe got a shock against Frankfurt when he started bringing on all these fellas, saying, I'll give these lads a run now, 10 men, 3-1, games wrapped up. And then, of course, we nearly threw back his face. So I'd say he's kind of going to himself, whoa, okay, hold on. Maybe the 89th minute now or the 90th minute. Don't allow these guys to ruin Everton for me. That's horrible to say. But yeah, no, I'd love to see Spence more often. I think he's got great quality from what I saw from last season anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, he needs a run out. And like I said, I think Emerson's got some sort of dirty thing on Conte to the reason why he keeps playing. But that's for another day. I won't get too wound up about Emerson because he didn't play. But anyway, I want to obviously just talk about the fact, obviously, the running so far this season. And Wes, I come to you, obviously, we could talk about them not down the road. The fact that they have started really well. I can't turn a blind eye to it. They have started really well. But I think we're in a great position. We're kind of in the shadow, if that makes sense. We're making our mark as we go along, because I think all the pressure is on Arsenal to cock up at some point. And I think it will happen.
Yeah, no, it's really annoying that them lot down the road are actually looks like they are coming together and they are playing some really, really good stuff, it has to be said. But yeah, it's just really, really annoying. But it feels like with Spurs, we are massively going under the radar. We've accumulated all of these points in these games that we've played so far, but you look at our performances and there's, things that we can massively improve on, which hopefully when everything does start to click and, we'll be in a better position than Arsenal, towards the end of the season, because obviously they are top at the moment. They are there to be shot at and got at. And yeah, I think for the good thing for us is that we can only get better because we haven't particularly been at our best. Whereas I think Arsenal at the minute, yeah, they're playing really well, playing some fantastic stuff. I watched their game against Liverpool and, they had Liverpool all over the place, especially at the back. But it feels like they are playing to their absolute maximum. And I think after the World Cup, they might just falter because I think to sustain that level for so long is difficult enough as it is without throwing a World Cup into the mix where, people might be coming back at completely different times. People's fitness levels are going to be, all over the place as well. So yeah, I'm liking sort of what we're doing to a certain degree. Yeah, it's just a shame that lot down the road are, I wouldn't say blowing everyone out the water, but they are just going about their business in a good way, which is a bit annoying to say.
Yeah, it is annoying, but we also have to think we're only 4 points behind them, Dara. I mean, it's not as if they're like running away with it. I think there's talks at the moment between Arsenal fans that they want to talk about winning the league now, and I think it's only October, guys. Slow down. But it's true, it's only 4 points.
Only 4 points, and we're level with Man City, who I still expect to win the league this season. And it has to be said that we're plugging along, and it suits me, and I'm sure it suits Spurs and Conte down to the ground to have no names in the media, to actually have majority of pundits and stuff criticizing us, in fact, and yet we're still up there. So, I mean, I really don't understand what people are complaining about when we're, was it our best start in 30 years or something like that in the league? Like, I mean, that is going completely under the radar. I don't know how, but it's brilliant. Long may it continue. Let Arsenal have their few weeks in the sunshine. That's no problem at all, because I think come the second half of the season, as Wes said, it'll really start to hit them. Yeah, they're playing brilliant stuff, I have to say, and that can't be denied. They blew us away. They blew Liverpool away. But United battered them. I mean, and I wouldn't call United. They're a decent side. Like I would be hoping for a good enough result against them on Wednesday, but we'll get on to that. But yeah, like, I mean, United absolutely battered them. So it shows that if they drop the intensity levels in any way, and you saw against Leeds on Sunday, like they weren't particularly good. They got away with absolute murder, and that would have been a loss. And then you're talking about a point then between us and Arsenal, so it's much of a muchness, and they're getting a lot of decisions, and they're getting a little bit lucky, as well as I think anyone would admit they're playing well, but they are getting a little bit of luck as well, and you do need that to be at the top of the table. So yeah, I think they'll get their comeuppance someday, so I'm not overly concerned at the moment. But yeah, it would be nice to get a little bit of recognition at some stage, because I'm a little bit sick of hearing every second pundit saying how bad we are and how boring we are to watch, and it's just, let them say what they want, but we'll keep plugging away.
Exactly, that's the thing. It doesn't matter how pretty your football is, as long as you win the games. That's all that matters. And I think at the moment we're kind of doing that. Yes, it's boring to watch, but I don't care for winning games. And the thing is as well, like, obviously last season Arsenal thought they were going to finish above us, and when it really mattered, they crumble. At the moment, they're all happy. But when the push comes to shove, they will topple, and I cannot wait for it. So that is the reason why we were talking about Arsenal, because then we were going to absolutely batter them afterwards. So you are on a Tottenham channel. But obviously, moving away from that game was a great win. Again, to put some more points on the board. But next up is obviously Manchester United. So Wes, they haven't had the best of form in recent weeks. I think they did beat Everton, I think, if I've done my research right, but they only just won in Europa League after McTominay came on. So it looks like for us we might be all right against them.
Yeah, I think in the last sort of couple of years, though, I know obviously we trounced them 6-1, which I've got family up in Manchester, and we still remind them about that particular game, but which was overshadowed by the fact that Liverpool got absolutely tanked by Villa in the same evening. But it just feels like at the minute where we can go into games like this one and we can almost feel really, really confident because we can go there and get a result. But then when you kind of deep it a little bit, it's still going to be a really tough game. And United are no mugs. I know they're going through a real sort of transitional period with Ten Hag. I think it's going to go either one of two ways. I think we'll either, nick a result. I don't think we'll absolutely batter them. I think we'll either nick a result or they will come out all guns blazing because I feel like they've got a point to prove. And I feel like in games where they have needed to prove something this season, I think United have just about done it. You look at that Arsenal game and, as Dara said earlier, they've absolutely murdered Arsenal. But it felt like that was a game where they had something to prove to everybody that, they are still sort of to be considered in the sort of top four conversation. And then they're miles off winning the league, miles off. But I think, certainly in that top four conversation, because I think everybody's really written them off. But it's going to be a difficult game. I don't think our record at Old Trafford is the greatest either. So, we've been to places where our record isn't great so far this season and have done okay. You look at obviously the Arsenal game, we were awful, but then Stamford Bridge, we've absolutely roughhoused a point there, and I think the police are still looking for that robbery at Stamford Bridge. So yeah, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be an interesting one. And Ten Hag is a manager that I've admired for a good few years. Absolutely loved the way he had his Ajax teams playing and things like that. So yeah, it's going to be a good watch for sure.
I mean, talking about obviously a point to prove, Darragh, we've spoken about tonight about our not so good away form. Could this be a point to prove to go there and obviously do the business against them at Old Trafford?
100%. I think that'd be an absolutely massive statement from us, especially after what I said about how they played against Arsenal. I think after blowing Arsenal out of the water and showing what they could do when they're on their game and on their day, it just makes me a little bit apprehensive about going to Old Trafford now. To be honest, I think they're a decent side. I still don't think they've really got their defense sorted or got their midfield sorted when they probably should have. I think Casemiro was a good signing for him, but I'm kind of quietly confident we'll get a result. But like, I mean, they're definitely no mugs. So we'll have to go out there and show respect to them. And I think playing 3-4-3 would be a mistake, to be honest. I am a little bit scared about Conte's course today, even though I do think it was a bit of mind games possibly. I think playing 3-5-2 is definitely the way to go. Because if United dominates the midfield, with the midfield they have, like I would argue our midfield, if we play in a 3, is better than theirs. So if we play 3-5-2, I'm very confident. If we play 3-4-3, I'm kind of on the fence about it a little bit. But yeah, I think if we were to go there and get a result, I think that would really give us a massive lift, especially going into that last, is it Marseille away we have in the Champions League?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is. So like that'll be a huge game. I know hopefully we'll be Sporting and we'll be right on our way by then. But even for away games like that, I thought we looked really lackluster in Europe so far away from home. And I know they're hard places to go and things like that. But we did seem a little bit scared and tepid and lacking a bit of confidence. So I think beating United at Old Trafford would be enormous. I think that'll be a really, really huge result. And I think it could prove to Conte possibly, if he goes with 3-5-2, that's the way to go.
Definitely, and I really hope so. I think loads of people, obviously Dan said it, David said it, I think there's someone else that they want to have those 3 in the middle. And Dan's also said, Wes, that'd be great to see a matchup between Højbjerg and Eriksen in the mid as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think obviously Højbjerg, we've mentioned about him earlier in his good form. I think Eriksen has been a little bit hit and miss in a United shirt. You know, you look at the games that they've played, like you look at the Brentford one, for example, you know, really, really struggled to drop deep and get on the ball there when he's being pressed. So, you know, the analysts hopefully for Spurs have done their homework on that. But yeah, I think obviously going forward and his ability on the ball, Eriksen, he's still got it. There's no doubt about that. You know, the spaces he can find. It's been interesting to see how him and Bruno have been working, because you would argue they are pretty much the same player, if not very, very similar. But I think if we get in and about that United midfield, which look, it will be Bruno, it will be Eriksen, and it's I reckon Casemiro will probably start, to be fair. But I think if we get in and around them and upset them and don't give them any time on the ball, I think they're going to really struggle, because I don't think they have the capabilities like they used to, where, you know, they can take the ball in tight areas and tight spaces. And especially, like I say, with Eriksen, that goal against Brentford where De Gea's rolled him the ball, you know, that was a big one, and a real eye opener, I think, for a lot of people that day. But yeah, no, it'll be an interesting matchup, definitely.
Definitely, if we go with obviously that 3 in the middle, because I don't want to see us get swamped, especially against United. But Darragh, I'll come to you for one more point about obviously the lineup kind of things before we move on to my favourite thing, score predictions. And that is the fact, obviously, we spoke about Richarlison being injured, the fact that Kulusevski probably won't be fit. So Lucas is probably the fit for this. We've spoken a little bit about him tonight, but do you think that will probably be the case?
I would be shocked, to be honest. I would be shocked if Conte brought in Lucas for such a big game. I think for a game like that, when Lucas hasn't really been training and isn't really up to speed, and he looked a bit, I know he only came on for a few minutes the other night, but his touch and everything like that, his match sharpness, everything like that, I think it would be a bad decision personally if you were to start him at least. I completely understand bringing him on if we need that bit of electricity. If we're behind, hopefully we won't be. But if we are, himself or Hill, I think that they're good options to have to cause a bit of havoc, bit of chaos. I don't think either of them probably are good enough on the ball to carry it forward and give a good final ball. That's why I think against United you have to be on the ball, especially at Old Trafford. You have to nearly be working like clockwork, I suppose. And I think the only way we can do that is if we have three in midfield and allow Bentancur and Højbjerg to do their thing. So yeah, I hope he doesn't do that. But listen, if he does, he obviously is seeing something, and he thinks he's ready. So listen, I'll trust Conte on it, but I think Basuma should definitely start this one.
I like it. I think that's kind of the sentiment as well. I'd kind of like that too. But obviously, moving on to score predictions, the best thing of the evening. Wes, I'll come to you first. What's your kind of thoughts?
3-2 Spurs.
I
think the last sort of few games we've had against United, there has been quite a few goals in there. Obviously, I was at Old Trafford last season, and I was really, really gutted actually that we didn't get a point, and I felt like the way we played deserved the point. But that was probably one of the very few times last season where I came away from a defeat, but I was really positive because of the way we played, the belief that we had. We could go toe to toe with United at that time, and you're feeling a little bit gutted that actually we haven't come away and got a result. And how many times can you say that when we've been to Old Trafford in the last few years? So I think 3-2. I think Kane will get one. Actually, I think he'll get two. I think he's going to get a header and a penalty. And then I think it's time for a bit of an obscure goal scorer. I'm going to say Eric Dyer. I think from set pieces we can really look to target them because they're not the best in the air. United.
I like it. I like the positivity, and like I say, it could be done. Darren, what's your kind of thoughts? I'm assuming it's not going to be 69-0.
No, I don't think it's 69-0. No, or anywhere close to that, to be honest. But I would love it to be. If it was, I'd take it. But no, I'd say it's going to be. I actually quite liked the 3-2 scoreline. I'm not going to lie. Wes really convinced me there. But I obviously can't copy him now. So I'll go 2-1. I do think we might nick results. I think our defense looked quite good. It's looking quite good recently. I thought Romero looked more back to his best against Everton. Because I thought he looked a little bit sluggish since the injury, just not quite as aggressive as maybe he was before that. So I think against Everton, he kind of started showing a bit more of that. And maybe that was him. Maybe he was playing with a slight nick or slight injury. You wouldn't know. But I think we'll nick this one 2-1. I'm gonna go for Kane just to continue that streak he's on. And I'm gonna go for I might go for an obscure one as well. I might go with, let me think. I'm gonna go with Bentancur. Why not?
Like it.
Ian and Bentancur.
Like that is, I'm down for that. I like an obscure goal scorer, especially if it's the two you've said. So that'd be ace. I'm gonna change it completely and say 3-1 because I don't want to copy anyone. I think Kane's gonna grab 2, and I think Son will grab the 3rd. I don't want to be too obscure, but I can't say who's going to score for United because, like I said, I don't really watch United, so I ain't got a clue. So I would go 3-1. Sean said 3-1 as well, so there we go. But yeah, no, that would be great if we do manage to get all 3 points, especially in midweek. And then obviously we have Newcastle United at the weekend. And I think there's a lot of injuries for Newcastle at the minute, so that one should be quite an appetizer too. But yeah, so a win against Everton and hopefully a win against United. Before we go, I want to obviously say a big thank you to Wes and Dara and to everybody in the chat. So like I normally do, we'll go around in the carousel and say our goodbyes. So Wes, thank you again for joining me last minute. Like I say, we'll get you in the diary properly. I'm not always a super sub, but thank you for joining me tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me on as well. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Wezo32, taking pictures usually of different grounds. It's usually my seat at Spurs. Try and go as often as I can with my dad. And then on Twitter, already done Instagram. Twitter at Wezo10. Don't really tweet too much, but it's usually about Moussa Dembele, the greatest of all time.
Waiting for it.
It's greatest of all time, honestly. I was actually at an evening with Michael Dawson on Friday, and I was surprised that he didn't even mention Moussa Dembele at all. And I was absolutely gutted because had he just mentioned Moussa Dembele, I'd have just melted pretty much. I run my own football coaching business as well in the Milton Keynes area, Dele Alli country. For those that don't know where it is. It's Kickoff Football Academy or Kofa MK on all the socials for that as well.
Love it. Thank you so much, Wes. And Dara, aka Spurs Views, where can everybody find you doing your thing as well, my friend?
Yeah, you can find me, guys, at SpursViews_. Just on Twitter, not on any other the socials, because I feel like I annoy people enough on one piece of social media for a lifetime. So yeah, you can get following me there, guys. And if you're not already, 100% get subscribing to Hollie, and definitely get onto Wes' stuff as well, guys, because yeah, they're two top guys.
Thank you. And like I say, go follow these guys on the social stuff. You will see them on the Hollie Hotspurs now again. Hopefully, like I say, Wes won't be drafted in last minute anymore. Dan says a shocker from Patrick. I think he's still on the terrace, I think, to be fair to him. So we'll let him off this time. Hopefully it'll be here another time. But like I say, thanks to everybody that has watched tonight. I do really appreciate it. And like we always say, come on, you Spurs.